Donald Trump has called for Israel's genocidal war on Gaza to end, saying a negotiated peace is needed. But on the ground, there's no let-up in the bloodshed as Israel attempts to seize Gaza's largest city and forcibly displace its population. In the past few hours, Israeli forces have targeted displaced Palestinians near a busy market in Gaza City, killing 17 of them. Several children have been injured in that attack. Another 5 people were killed in the Sabra neighborhood, which came under heavy bombardment. At least 33 Palestinians have been killed in Israeli strikes across Gaza since dawn. Right, well, we will be getting the latest from Tareq Azzoum, who's in central Gaza. But first, here's Ibrahim al-Khalili inside Gaza City. Ibrahim, obviously the situation where you are is incredibly difficult as Palestinians are being forced out of Gaza City. Can you tell us about these latest attacks?
Yes, Sarah. Actually, we are facing and witnessing an intensification of Israel's ground operations here in Gaza City, accompanied with aerial airstrikes targeting different sites and locations. One of these brutal attacks that came at midnight without any prior warning was near a public market, fresh market in the east of Gaza City, killing many Palestinians, and dozens were injured as a result, among them women and children. These families sought refuge there, believing that these places will offer them some respite from Israel's attacks, but they ended up being targeted and brutally killed. They have been transferred to al-Ahli hospital in the center of Gaza City. The unprecedented escalation of Israeli attacks targeting also a Sabra neighborhood south of Gaza City, killing 8 family members of that attack. All these attacks came at midnight, as I mentioned, while people slept. The situation is getting much more dire. These systematic attacks force hundreds of thousands of Palestinians to flee from Gaza City towards the southern part of the Gaza Strip with a deepening humanitarian crisis. As I spoke to families this morning, they told me the intensity of the Israeli attacks were unprecedented, forcing them to go to the unknown future, to the unknown places. They told me they have no places to run, and given the fact that the overcrowding in Al-Mawasi and the harsh reality, Sarah, for Palestinians here that nowhere in Gaza is beyond the reach of Israeli attacks are prompting thousands of families to make the difficult decision to move to the unknown.
Indeed, some of the Palestinians that we have been speaking to, that you have been speaking to, are saying that this is probably one of the most difficult times during this almost 2-year war. What are the conditions that people are facing in Gaza City, and also for those that are deciding to leave?
Yes, many families fled south of the Gaza Strip, but there are many people staying here. And as I spoke to them, they told me that they are staying here and they are remaining in Gaza City due to many factors. They can't afford the high cost of relocating from Gaza City towards the south of the Gaza Strip, and given the fact that they have nowhere else to run due to the overcrowding in the Al-Mawasi, and it's a completely undersourced area. Families can't find a place to stay, and the harsh reality for Palestinians that nowhere in Gaza is beyond the reach of the constant and relentless Israeli attacks targeting different sites and locations, leaving these families vulnerable, and they can't fend for themselves. As I spoke to them, they worry of what might come next in the light of the unprecedented escalation of Israeli attacks targeting complete residential buildings, forcing families out from their homes to head to the unknown future that's defined by relentless bombardment and a deepening humanitarian crisis. Families who have decided to and have chosen to stay, they have no other option. They have been forced by circumstances. Over 22 months of Israeli war have robbed them of every possible income to afford the price of relocating to the so-called safe zone, al-Mawasi, which is overcrowded and is under also Israeli bombardment.
Yeah, and of course, some of those that do arrive say that there's no place for them in al-Mawasi, so they end up trying to return back. Thank you very much for the update, Ibrahim al-Khalili there. Now, let's speak to Tareq Azzoum, who's live for us, as we were mentioning there from al-Nusayrat. Tareq, al-Nusayrat refugee camp was originally a refugee camp because of all the Palestinians displaced to Gaza decades ago. Again, people being displaced, some of them saying 20 times during this war. Tell us more about what you are seeing and the people that you have been speaking to as they make that journey south.
Yeah, more and more families, Sarah, are moving to the south of the Strip. We saw families are living under bombardment. They told us that the intensity of Israeli airstrikes have pushed them out of these areas, moving to the nowhere as the situation is escalating rapidly by the hour. We saw people are quite exhausted. Their faces are etched with fear and fatigue. They are moving in silence and they are trying now to find refuge. But where people have been told to go to, basically, the main destination is al-Mawasi. And it's very important to illustrate for our viewers that the al-Mawasi area has been an active epicenter for Israeli attacks. Around 114 airstrikes were conducted in that area, killing at least 2,000 Palestinians since the war began. This area as well lacks civilian infrastructure, despite all Israeli promises to create a concrete humanitarian landscape for families there. And we're getting more reports, by the way, about the numbers of Palestinians who have been moving from the Gaza City to the south of the Strip. According to Gaza's government media office, around 300,000 Palestinians have made that journey southward, and around 900,000 others are still in Gaza City. It reflects that Israeli military campaign in Gaza City is moving slowly but by using overwhelming firepower in order to keep pushing people out. So this is a very grim and frustrating journey south, and a lot of families are right now living in the open without makeshift tents, without shelter, without even having the minimal level of access to their humanitarian basic needs, Sarah.
And Tareq, looking at those broader conditions in terms of food and healthcare, because one of the systems that has been targeted throughout this war has been the health centres as well as the hospitals. And we have been seeing during our lives with you, people walking behind you injured and making that journey. What happens when they need medical care on arrival in the south?
Well, we show in the past hour a number of ambulances are delivering and transporting wounded people and critically ill patients to the south of the Strip. It's a sign that Gaza's remaining functional medical centers are running out of their basic humanitarian and medical infrastructure, alongside with the fact that a number of field hospitals have been forced to shut down and to transfer its medical equipment to the south due to the expansion of ground operations. So that military campaign is casting its shadow over the ability of medical teams to provide medical services for people who are still stuck there. And we continue to get testimonies from medical teams saying that they are forced to deal with numerous number of casualties, and there are different emergency calls were not being responded to, given the fact that they are located in areas of bombardment and roads are quite filled and littered with rubble, and the intensity of Israeli attacks are hampering really the ability of emergency services to reach people in need there. And also, there has been huge warnings being issued by the WHO confirming that the Gaza City's remaining functional hospitals are running low in terms of medical supplies, and they are forced to deal with a growing and accelerating rate of casualties. Many of these doctors themselves who are operating in Gaza City are unable to evacuate their families, and they are still determined to continue providing medical services despite the growing scale of bombardment and expansion of ground activities by Israeli forces, Sarah.
Yeah, of course. So, Tareq, medical teams that have been going through this for 2 years but continuing to do their job as best they can. Thank you very much for that update, Tareq Azzoum there.
Don't miss out. Get the full picture. Subscribe to Al Jazeera for reliable news, expert insight. Like, share, stay ahead.